Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. A new South African mining company recently announced its intention to purchase Anglo-American's Eskom-tied domestic thermal coal operations in South Africa, which would position the majority black-owned startup as a potential second-largest provider of coal to Eskom. Martin Creamer tells us more. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Sashnee.
Can you tell us about the company and the deal?
It's a very exciting company. It's got a nice name, Seriti, and it's just popped up out of nowhere. It has been 2 years in the making. We've been hearing these rumors that people are bidding for the coal assets of Anglo-American, that Anglo-American doesn't want bulk assets any longer, which includes the iron ore, and that they were going to get rid of their South African coal mines, and that there were a lot of anxious people wanting to get their hands on these mines. And then it popped up this week that the main bidder that has actually scored all the points is Seriti. Now, we know Mike Techie very well because he's come through so many different permutations in the mining industry, and also as president of the Chamber of Mines and as chairman of Richards Bay Coal Terminal. So it was good for us to see that he was actually leading the charge, because he has great ambitions, and so does Seriti, and so do all the parts of Seriti, to become the next mining champion. We know that Sibanye has those ambitions as well. It's great, Sibanye in the precious metal space at the moment, possibly looking beyond the precious metal space, wanting to be a mining champion. Now we've got Seriti popping up, a startup, 79% black owned. So, it ticks the boxes very, very well from the Department of Mineral and Resources point of view, from the mining charter point of view, from Eskom point of view. They've all been wanting a bigger shareholding and a bigger black shareholding. This is 79%, so you can't sneeze at that. And they want to do things in a way that sets those standards that have been captured. So they're looking at Anglo's standards and saying, these are the standards we want to keep, and we want to start off as a supply of coal to Eskom, and we want to make sure we do it well. But we're also wanting to look beyond these particular mines that we're buying now, which is New Vaal, Kriel, New Denmark. These are tied to Eskom. They're Eskom-tied mines, which is a special ownership sort of status in doing that. And all the coal, in terms of that agreement, goes to Eskom. It's not as if a slice is exported or anything like that. Determined to do a good job with this to start with, but also looking at new Largo. We have that greenfield project out in Mpumalanga, which should be supplying coal to the Kusile power station. No contract award yet, but they're saying that they'd also like to get their hands on that, as well as possibly even the iron ore assets of Anglo-American. They're looking to be diversified, and they're looking long. And you can see that the unions gave them backing, because this Seriti is made up of strong parts. It's got four established companies that have come, well, three very established companies, one could say, that have come together to actually say we will be equal 25% shareholders. Each of those segments are virtually black controlled, and each of them has made a contribution. Some of them also already in mining. So I don't think anybody could argue with the credentials there. They're very, very well based, and we do need a mining champion. We do need mining champions. We used to have some very big mining groups here. You can see how they've become smaller and smaller through just looking at Anglo-American now wanting to offload its coal as well. So it's important for us to give these bodies encouragement, and they seem full of momentum and enthusiasm.
Now, what are the problems on Eskom's end?
Yeah, that's the problem. There could be a spoke in the wheel, yeah. But I can't see it being stopped, because what Eskom is saying, look, according to this latest court case involved Exoro and Arnott mine, the courts decided that Eskom really owns these tied coal mines. So there's a sort of an ownership snag that needs to be sorted out. But Eskom doesn't really want to be a coal miner. So I think that maybe they're just using it as a sort of a negotiating point, because they would like a good deal. I'm sure that they'll get the best deal possible. But they are saying, hey, urgent talks, please. And it looks like a bit of a spoke in the wheel. But there's still time to sort these things out. And with the 79% black ownership, I mean, Eskom was talking about you have to have 50% and one share, which gives that black ownership the majority. Now they got 79%. I mean, they must think their birthday's come. And, that's the best you can get in mining at the moment. And led by experienced people. Mike Techie has been around the block. He's been in platinum, he's been in coal, he's been with BHP Billiton, he's been with Impala, he's been with the big groups. And it's a great story because, he started as a 79 Rand a week labourer with Van Leer in Springs. Was born in Kwatema and hasn't had the easiest of lives. And yet he's turned it around to such an extent that you can see him on the boards of many companies and very keen to get going on this. So that's the sort of momentum that we need. Hopefully it won't be slowed down by Eskom. Eskom needs the coal. These are tied mines. Eskom doesn't want to be a miner. They say they want to not be the baker. They want to buy the bread. And so that fits in with their strategy as well. But they did make the statement. They did put a bit of a brake on the enthusiasm that was going around the place, and they did call for urgent talks. So we'll have to see what comes of that.
How will the acquisition be funded by Seriti?
That's another thing, funding is crucial with these things, and we can see that the deal is a 2.3 billion Rand deal, which a lot of the journalists were suggesting was a giveaway. But they were saying that that's an appropriate amount for these mines. The mines, some of them are coming to the end of their lives, Creel for one. And so you've still got coal coming out of there, but you're going to have reinvestment to get new areas developed. And so, if you overcharge at this point, you're not going to get anyone taking these things. So they said it's a very appropriate amount, 2.3 billion. And what Mike Techie is saying, he mentioned the name Standard Bank, but of course, the four groups involved here have each got their own banking arrangements. So there would be a lot of banking arrangements, and he did say it's going to be a mixture of equity and debt. So, the banks always want a lot of equity because you've got to put your money where your mouth is. They put that money into the business, and they have got those sort of means. All those shareholders at 25% each, they've all got means to put in equity, which I think will please the banks. And then they've also all got long-standing arrangements with their own banks. So the funding is crucial, and I think the funding is there.
And when do stakeholders expect to conclude the deal?
Yeah, well, they'd like to do it yesterday. I mean, as I say, it's been 2 years in the making. We said to them, how many people bid for these assets? And they didn't want to give the number. And we said, who bid for these assets? And they didn't want to say who. And eventually said, well, just give us a number. So they said, well, it wasn't 10. So was it 20? No, it wasn't 20. More than 20, yes, north of 20. So north of 20, more than 20 people, more than 20 companies, more than 20 entities bid for these assets. So you can see that they were sought after. And so the outcome is that Seriti should be the one that starts taking these over. Anglo-American, typical, cautious. They're saying we're giving till the end of the year to sort out this deal, but obviously they'd like to do it much significantly quicker than that, which they said, and hopefully they will. You do have a situation with the Department of Mineral Resources at the moment, sometimes showing rogue behavior. You wonder whether that Section 11, which they're in charge of, which is the transfer of ownership, how long are they going to take with that? They seem to take an inordinate amount of time to get the transfer of ownership deals. The reason, I don't know, but that can hold things up. And, hopefully there is goodwill towards this, that they speed it up, because they're dealing now with a 79% black-owned entity. They should be rolling out red carpets here. Hopefully they will. And then you've got to get approval from Eskom on this thing. Hopefully that won't take too long, because apparently they've been talking to Eskom all the way. But there was, when we approached Eskom, they made the statement saying there are sticking points, which I think they then said we would deal with fast, because they had read the statement that these tied mines could have ownership issues. That some of the outlook is that the courts see these mines as actually property of Eskom, although they're not on their balance sheet. So there is a bit of confusion in that. Hopefully they'll sort it out quickly, and hopefully they'll do this before the end of the year. And it also is an indication that despite the credit downgrading and all these credit issues that we've got now, people in the business world still see great opportunity. And that is going to be good, because if we can recover fast from this very negative political downturn that we've got. It'll be the corporates that pull us through, because the government isn't doing much to pull us through at the moment. Fortunately, our corporate business is very, very strong. And you can see here how they're saying, no, we're going ahead with this, despite all the bad news about credit downgrades and the possibility of, interest rates going the wrong way. No, we're going hammer and tongs into this. And you could also see there was even, a listing by Brian Joffe of a new company on the stock exchange during this very period that everybody should be cautious. They're saying throw caution to the wind, which shows a confidence in South Africa. If the big business and corporates can show that confidence, it'll show up the government as being errant, in not actually creating the proper climate and putting the country at risk needlessly. I mean, what head of state in his right mind would do what has been done? Yeah, that could mean, people are paying more for everything. And that hurts those who haven't got means. Or it's fine if interest rates go up and you've got money in the bank, well, you're going to make more. But if you haven't, it's the poorest of the poor that get hit. And what head of state would want to do that?
Thanks for speaking with us, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Sashnee.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on South Africa's mining industry.